I decided to quit my job, and I quit in January, early January. It's now the 20th of March, and in that time, the revenue for the business is £90,000. And I wasn't really sure how that was going to go. Did I have a plan? Yes, a loose one. Was it watertight? No. But I decided to follow my dream and follow my passion. I always knew that I could sell. I mean, sales is what I've done for the last 15 years. I always knew that I could sell, but what I didn't know was, could I deliver? Could I actually keep customers and keep them happy once I've sold to them? Because I've never done that. I've always worked for software companies or service delivery companies that the delivery was not within my remit. The key tell for me has been when I've started delivering these sales training activities, that my customers are coming back to me with effusive positive feedback. So, not only is it enjoyable, but it's actually having an impact on the customers that I'm delivering it to. They're saying things like, "We never realized that this was so important. You explain these things well. We enjoy having you around. You've made a difference in the very short time you've been working with us." You'll see videos on LinkedIn from time to time, or Instagram or YouTube, from a guy called Simon Squibb. I watch them, you probably do too. And he goes up to random people and he's like, "What's your dream?" I used to watch these videos a little bit skeptically, I've got to be honest. I used to think, it's not like that. It's been difficult. Not from a business perspective, but from a psychological perspective, it's been very hard. Going completely alone after having such a close-knit business I was working for previously around me. And yeah, that's been tough, but you have to power through it, and I have. And so you're probably now wondering, how the hell did you do that, James? How do you win customers when you start from absolutely nothing? How do you get 90,000 revenue in 2 months? How? First of all, it starts a few years ago. I went to an event. This event was an event where, if you're a salesperson, people there will want to know exactly when you're going to be selling to them. I went to that event and I didn't try to sell to anyone. All I did was acted genuinely interested in what people were doing there, who they were, and what they did for a job. Even when they prompted me and said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a salesperson." And they said, "Well, are you going to pitch me?" And I said, "No, not tonight." I left people feeling happier than when they first met me. And then I gained their contact details and stayed in touch with them. One of the people at that event was this person. So when I started my company, I already had this person as a connection on LinkedIn. So it wasn't me messaging this person with a cold connection request and then an AI generated message. It was a warmly received message which was one line. And that line was, do you want me to help with sales? And the person, of course, when they receive this message, thinks, I mean, what would you think if you were a buyer and someone messaged you that? The first thing you'd probably think is, well, who is this person and are they actually good at this? So they go on my profile. Now, I've set up my LinkedIn profile so that it's very clear what I do. My banner clearly identifies what I do for customers. And then on my LinkedIn profile, I've set it up in a way so that it guides the user to where I want them to go. And what is that exactly? Well, I want users to go to my featured recommendation from my previous CEO, which is very strong. So, this potential buyer has received a message, a warm message from someone they know saying, do you want me to help with sales? They've clicked on my profile, they can see my banner, which is very clear what I do, and then they've been guided to this featured recommendation, which gives them social proof that I'm good at what I do. I'm starting to build credibility. So what's the obvious thing that happens then? So they look at that recommendation, and on the call, they're like, wow, these are some bold claims, both on your profile, but also in the recommendation. Talk me through them and how you actually did them. And of course, all the claims are real, so I just transparently talk through exactly how I did these things. Whatever the thing it is that you do, be transparent with people about how you do it. So this generates a level of interest, and they ask about pricing, and I say, look, I'll do a proposal for you. But before I do, just tell me exactly, given everything you know about me, how you would use me to improve your business. And I had Gemini Notes on, which is good because it notes everything down for me. And they list 3 things that they need for their business to grow. And I said, great. So I go away and I write a structured proposal, which lists exactly where they are today, where they're looking to get to, and crucially, I gave them some options. Option A, they do nothing. Option B, they hire someone. And option C, they go with myself. And obviously, I made option C seem like the most attractive option. I also priced it at a point which is very attractive. Now again, when you price something low, people have questions about why you're doing that. Just because you price something low doesn't mean that it's just going to be a smooth, easy sale. Sometimes, if you sell a Ferrari for the price of a Fiat, people are going to have questions as to why. Again, transparency is key here. I explain that I'm doing this as a means to an end for the next step for my business, and the buyer also saw it as using me for a means to an end. Finally, within the proposal, I was very clear and transparent that if they wanted to speak to one of my references, they could do. I didn't hide away. I didn't say, oh no, if you have to speak to a reference, then do it. I actively encouraged it, which actually, funnily enough, means people are less inclined to speak to references. But right before they signed the contract, they went and spoke to one of my references. 2 hours later, they signed. This is stuff that seems all step by step to be quite simple, but actually it's, when put together, very impactful. It's logic, really. Make yourself easy to understand to someone new who's potentially buying from you. Make it very clear what you do, and then have social proof that what you do, you're good at. People nowadays, in 2026, don't just buy cold. they do their research, they do their due diligence. So when someone is doing their research, make it very, very easy for them to trigger that next step of having a conversation with you. Throughout the whole process, I built credibility, and then I leveraged that credibility to close the deal. That's what you should be doing with your business. So, should you just quit your job, follow your dream, like Simon Squibb tells you to do? I think you need credibility to start with. That's what I had with my experience and background. That's point number one. Point number two, you need to know what your passion actually is. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I wouldn't just recommend quitting your job if you've got no credibility and you don't know what your passion is. And if he comes up to you and asks you that question and you don't know, take his money rather than buy his book. Secondly, you need to accept that it's going to be incredibly lonely. And that's something I didn't forecast. But if you do have a dream, you do have a passion, you do have an extent of credibility, then the rewards will far outweigh what you can gain working for someone else. I promise you of that. That's my verdict on someone who I watched online skeptically and now think maybe there's an ounce of truth in what he says. One real person, just like you, who's watched those videos, giving you my honest take on what it's actually like to do what he tells you to do.